And welcome back to Hannity. Now that Prime Minister Netanyahu has won re-election in Israel, well, what impact will this have on the administration's negotiations with Iran? Joining me now is the author of American Dreams, Restoring Economic Opportunity to Everyone, potential 2016 candidate, Florida Senator Marco Rubio. Senator, how are you? Good to see you.
I'm good. Good to see you, Sean.
One thing you did say, that if you are elected president, that any agreement that Obama made bypassing Congress would not stand, you would repeal it immediately.
Well, unless it's a really good deal, I don't anticipate that at this point, because the only deal that in my mind is acceptable is one that does not allow Iran to enrich uranium or reprocess plutonium. If they have that, they can build a bomb anytime they want. And they say they want it for peaceful purposes, but virtually every other country in the world that's not a nuclear power now, that has a peaceful nuclear program, they import that material. They don't enrich it or reprocess it themselves. There's only one reason why Iran wants it, and that is because they want to build a weapon one day. So anything that lets them do that is something I would definitely get rid of.
All right. We have Obama campaign operatives on the ground in Israel. We have trying to unseat an elected ally of the United States of America. The president obviously loathes Bibi Netanyahu, has contempt for him, as evidenced by his guys on the ground trying to defeat him. And it seems that he actually has more contempt for them than the leaders of North Korea, Syria, and Iran. How is that possible? How did we get to this point?
Well, let me make 2 points. The first is that it's important to celebrate what happened yesterday in Israel. They had an election. I wish the entire Middle East looked like Israel. I wish the entire Middle East had a first world economy and a democracy and was a strong ally of the United States. That alone is a reason to stand strongly with Israel. My second point is, while I have great admiration for the Prime Minister Netanyahu, our commitment is to the state of Israel. And we have had historically in this country a very strong bipartisan commitment to Israel's security and its future. This president has threatened that through his personal animus towards the Prime Minister. And I think that's deeply unfortunate and troubling, and I have no idea why he is more willing to speak to the Iranians and show more respect for Iran than he is willing to show respect for our strong ally in Israel and Netanyahu.
Right, so the president, well, maybe in a few days he'll call Netanyahu. This was an overwhelming victory. The next prime minister is not in dispute. So he breaks a 30-year, I guess, breaks the ice after 30 years. He calls the Iranian president when he's elected, calls Vladimir Putin after he's elected. He called Morsi, who called Israelis descendants of apes and pigs. He called him when he became the leader in Egypt. Same thing in Turkey, same thing in China, same thing in Saudi Arabia. But he can't pick up a phone and call the prime minister of our closest ally and the only democracy in the region? Don't you think there's something really radically wrong here?
There is. As I said again, he's showing more respect for Iran than he is for the Prime Minister of Israel. And that's a terrible precedent that he set. But I hope the Democratic Party will repudiate this. Traditionally in the Democratic Party have been very strong allies and continue to be very strong allies of Israel. I think now that that election is passed, I hope they will join us in our efforts here in Congress to put in place these measures that require any deal with Iran to be passed by the U.S. Congress at a time when the president's saying he's going to bypass the elected representatives of the American people and instead take the deal to the United Nations to be ratified.
All right, let me ask you, there was a story that came out, broke earlier today, late this afternoon, that the president is calling for mandatory voting in the United States. He said that it's at a town hall in Cleveland. Let me play it for you.
It would be transformative if everybody voted. That would counteract money more than anything. If everybody voted, then it would completely change the political map in this country.
Before that, he said that there's mandatory voting in other countries. Is that what we're going to have in America? What happened? I thought liberals were pro-choice. Guess not.
Look, first, I don't put anything past them. I mean, there are a lot of things that have already happened that I never thought I would see. And so this would not surprise me if indeed that's the way they move forward on it. But here's the point he refuses to point out, or that he misses. Not voting is also a legitimate choice that some people make. I wish more people would participate in politics too, but that is their choice. That is the choice of living in a free society. And so it would not surprise me if at some point before the end of his presidency he tries to move forward on an agenda like that. Because again, at the end of the day, I think throughout his presidency he has shown utter any sort of respect towards the right of Americans to participate in the political process as they choose, and he's done things that are of unconstitutional nature repeatedly.
Senator, there are two powers, constitutional powers for the legislative branch: the power of the purse, the power of advice and consent. Loretta Lynch, her nomination is up. almost every senator believes that what the president is doing, bypassing the current law on immigration and using executive orders, is unconstitutional. 4 of your Republican colleagues, Lindsey Graham, Collins, Jeff Flake, and one other person, Orrin Hatch, are on record that they would vote for her. Now, here's what Dick Durbin said about this, playing the race card. Listen to this.
The Republican majority leader announced over the weekend that he was going to hold this nomination of Loretta Lynch until the bill, which is pending before the Senate, passes, whenever that may be. And so Loretta Lynch, the first African-American woman nominated to be Attorney General, is asked to sit in the back of the bus when it comes to the Senate calendar.
All right, I expect Democrats to play the race card. Here's my question. Republicans have these powers, the power of the purse, the power of advice and consent. If you think that executive action on immigration is unconstitutional, shouldn't every Republican stand up and say no to Loretta Lynch as the Attorney General?
Well, first of all, these are the same Democrats that voted against Condoleezza Rice when she was appointed to be Secretary of State. And second, these are the same Democrats that blocked Miguel Estrada from even getting a vote in the United States Senate, a very highly qualified Hispanic candidate for the federal judiciary. And as far as her vote on her is concerned, here's the bottom line. The president has taken a blatantly unconstitutional step by basically nullifying the immigration laws of this country and announcing he's going to refuse to enforce them. And you have the highest law enforcement officer in the country, or the nominee for the highest law enforcement officer in the country, with a straight face arguing that she believes that it is constitutional to do what he's just done. That alone should disqualify her from being the next Attorney General.
I think a lesson can be learned from Prime Minister Netanyahu that if you stand on principle, you take political risks and lead. I think it's good politics and good policy, and I wish the Republican Party as a whole, not you, would do it more. Where are you in this potential run for the presidency in 2016? Where are you in the decision making?
Well, we're very close, and we'll have an announcement soon. And as I've told you before, Sean, you'll be one of the first to know.
All right. What do you mean one of the first? That's plural.
Well, I think my wife will probably know, and then my kids, and then, I've got a bunch of other people in my life, too. And, well, you'll be one of the first.
That makes me like 10th on the list. That's 15 on the list. All right.
I have a big family.
All right, Senator, thank you.